Being very tanky and massive damage usually doesn't go hand in hand with a necromancer. That changes now with Bloodlands 4.0. We took the concept of Overpower's massive damage and paired it together with Bone Storm and Lidless Wall to be able to zoom through dungeons, produce copious amounts of essence by consuming blood orbs that our corpse tendrils make, and at the same time soaking up our barrier like crazy. Take this tier 100 dungeon for an example. You just go into the mobs with your blood mist, pull them together, have your bone storm active, so you get constantly barrier, 10,000, 11,000 armor, so your damage reduction is kind of nice. Throw in those blood lances with bonus blood lances from your blood orbs piercing, and yes, you will miss the blood wave and all the blood orbs, but for the zooming aspect, we're going through like super crazy and constantly having everything off cooldown with a flicker step and decrepify. You just are now finally a dungeon zooming madness. No more timid tiptoeing trying to get somewhere around the dungeon. No, now you're zooming and booming like crazy. Before you ask, can this do Uber Lilith? Yes, it can. And for that part, Lilith and boss fights in general, pay very close attention to the end of the video because there's a special tip on how to kill bosses super fast while still maintaining your dungeon zooming speed. Hemorrhage is our basic skill with Acolyte's Hemorrhage for the bonus attack speed so we can soak up the essence super quick. Then all the points in Bloodlands for the supernatural Bloodlands to get the bonus. And yes, you do want imperfectly balanced. It's slightly more expensive, but the 15 times multiplier is too good. No corpse skill. Yes, forget about corpse skills. And then Ghastly Blood Mist making corpses. We don't play the corpse explosion aspect, but you want to Blood Mist in to make one corpse, pull everyone together, make a lot of blood orbs with a corpse tendril, and then destroy them. And that brings us also here to the bonus damage because we have Decrepify going for the Decrepify cooldown reduction, but then Amplify damage, bonus damage, close water damage reduction, and then distance bonus damage as well because you do all of it. Close, distance, middle, everything. Then we get corpse tendrils into blighted corpse tendrils for the blood orbs, together with transfusion, tides of blood, everything. 1 point drain vitality. You don't need more than 1 point because you fortify over the blood orbs. Yes, blood wave will be missed, but in this case, Bone Storm is just so much better together with Primal Bone Storm for the damage reduction and also the permanent critical strike that's going on. And again, because this is the Lidless Lance, how we call the build, you have permanent crit, permanent damage reduction on the Banished Lord's Talisman and everything. Coming to the gear in a second. That is with Standalone for the damage reduction, Memento Mori for the sacrifice bonus, and Inspiring Leader for the bonus attack speed, because bonus attack speed is surprisingly efficient on this build. Finally, Rathmas Vigor, which has the new reduced cooldown with Blood Orb pickup, and that's what we still consistently do, even though we don't play Blood Wave. You sacrifice Skeletal Warriors for the bonus resistance to just 70 them out so easily. You could go for the bonus crit chance, but honestly, I found the resistances so much better because if you're dead, you're dead. Bonus Overpower, and we are sacrificing the Golem for Critical Strike. No life, Critical Strike. Yes, so much better for this build. That is because of the Banished Lord's Talisman. Critical strike chance, overpower damage, resource generation, range to all core skills, which is insane. But your critical strikes that overpower deal 120% increased damage, which works just absolutely fantastic with Bloodlands, overpowering guaranteed, and having a crit chance of 30% plus 20% from your Bone Storm, plus 20% from your Corpse Tendrils. So you're running around with 70% crit chance consistently, more or less. Follow that up with the Gore Quilts that consume the blood orbs to bonus lands, and these consumed blood orbs overheal you. They also fortify you with your glyphs, and they will give you essence with the next aspect. On the ring, you're looking for overpower damage. Damage to close is fine because you're in there. You need maximum life, and then crit damage or even more crit chance. Second aspect would be potent blood, and I finally found a 15. Yes, whenever I pick a blood orb, I get 15 essence back. And with Bloodlands roughly costing 16, that's pretty damn good. Now, another key piece would be the Lidless Wall, so you do have infinite Bone Storms going on, because you're consistently going to be creating them around yourself, and then even more around yourself, and then triggering up to 4 bonus Bone Storms. Now, the good part is, this also helps you to block damage, negate some damage as you block it, then you get more life, Yes, more life, more overpower, more fortify, and you have a 5% chance to restore 15% primary resource. Technically unnecessary, but you have it, and you constantly lucky hit as well. For our weapon, I have a wand here. A dagger or sword would be better. Dagger is damage to close and faster attack speed. Sword is bonus critical strike damage, so that's kind of nice. I do have a bonus of lucky hit chance. I haven't found a better dagger or sword yet. Overpower damage, critical strike damage, damage to slowed, or skill damage, something like that. You want the corpse tendril aspect on here because that's multiplicative bonus damage on your critical strikes and that overpower. So on top of that. If you get int, all stats kind of nice because more dex is more crit. Never underestimate that over just plainly going int. For the boots, I do want flicker step. So I just always have blood mist, always have bone storm, always have everything going on. And I just got so much used to the 20% damage reduction these boots give me that I just can't simply just put them away. I don't know. I like flicker step, but technically any boots is possible here. Put the aspect on for bonus movement speed, but technically any boots is possible here. Technically any boots is possible here. You really don't need the flicker step. If you have the penitent grease or bonus damage versus chill, while you do actually do chill, that's also pretty nice. I'm just a sucker for always having my bone storm. We do want T-Bolt's will though. Technically you could play the Blood Moon Breaches, and I've tried that out. They're fun and they provide a very good amount of overpower damage. But I have to admit that the Blood Moon Breaches with the bonus damage reduction from close, the bonus damage in total, and especially the consistent essence regeneration just feel too good to ignore them. Gloves are extremely important for this build. You do obviously want the ranks and bloodlands. You want the overpower causes you to get bonus attack speed. And yes, here important overpower damage, critical strike chance, and I did also take dex. Because like this, it's a huge boost in your critical strike. Now, since we're playing Bone Storm and we have a constant barrier up with our helm aspect, we'll get to that in a second. I also do play Soulbrand. That's 20% damage reduction from close and 20% damage reduction with a barrier. Plus max life, barrier generation, and lucky hit when you have barrier. The lucky hit is nice to have. I mean, it in the end boosts Lidless wall and also boosts your blood orb production. That can happen every 4 seconds. But the damage reduction just works incredibly nice. If you do not have Soulbrand, I recommend a chest with max life and damage reduction. And also take blood skill damage there. And on top, total armor percentage, plus then disobedience on that to skyrocket your armor. If you don't know how armor works, we have a video on that on the channel. Last but not least, we're going for the helmet. And here you want definitely a total armor percentage max roll and as high level as possible. This is only 800 item power. If I had this on 29% with 925 item power, I would get another 1,500 armor roughly, which is insane. Here also maximum life is important. Cooldown reduction you could take, all stats. And I also have 20 damage for picking up blood orbs because it works so well with this build. But mostly you're going to go for a resistance stat if you don't have it maxed yet. Each time that Bone Storm damages, you get barrier. And now with the barrier going on the whole time, your max life, which is roughly with the right Paragon points, 20,000 to 21,000, is on top of barrier, on top of the damage reduction, on top of the armor you're running, making you an absolute undying calamity. Now they also fixed the tooltip on an untimely death, and it says it's finally multiplicative overpower damage. So if you overheal, bonus overpower damage on your next overpowering attack up to 44% multiplicative. That's really good, but I just have no space to put this in at all. Technically, it could end on the ring and reduce our essence cost production, and it wouldn't be all too bad. But it would also, for the bonus of damage, just slow down your clearing speed in general. So you get bigger hits, but less hits. And I prefer to just shoot more. Another Paragon board, then Vampiric Powers, and then I'll tell you how to handle bosses really efficient with this build. You 100% need the Blood Drinker glyph. That fortifies you and it also boosts magic nodes. If you have this on level 21, it will give you triple armor. Instead of 50, it's almost 150. Instead of 5% damage, it's almost 15% damage. Way too good to not take it. Going then for the Bloodbath board, you're trying to pick up most dex, willpower, and intelligence nodes. And here we're going for the control glyph for the bonus damage against crowd control targets, because you can take the 2 intelligence nodes there and they're not bad. Here we can also take bonus damage, and generally damage while fortified is kind of nice because we are constantly fortified. Leading you right into the Blood Baguettes board for the bonus damage when picking up blood orbs with the Dominate glyph on 49 willpower, and I think I could take 1 more willpower here, so we could technically bring this up to 54 willpower. But you also want to go upwards and onwards here into the Send of Death board to reduce damage from close enemies. The damage reduction is really nice. You also get here bonus critical strike damage. And we're taking the Imbiber glyph to do more damage while we are healthy, because we are constantly healthy, and it's a nice little multiplier. Finally, from the Blood Begets board, we head into the right, and that is going to be the Bone Graft. Bone Graft is for 2% more life, 2% more life, 2% more life, and another 8% more life and armor around here. So we boost our armor up for bonus damage reduction. And here we need to take the Essence glyph for the 22% increased multiplicative critical strike damage against enemies that are not healthy, giving you these ultra super overpower crits. Now you can see I have skulls in every single item because the skulls work way better for us than resistance to all elements due to the Book of Dead giving you the bonus resistances, and then rubies obviously in the armor and in the weapons. For Vampiric Powers, the most important one is Metamorphosis, so we can dash through enemies, go invisible, get unstoppable for the bonus damage and essence with T-Ball's Will, but at the same time you can apply bonus Bone Storms by simply dashing through people with the Lidless Wall. This gets followed up by Prey on the Weak, and that's our source of vulnerable. We dash through things, they get Vampiric Curse, they go vulnerable, and we do bonus damage against them. And this works constantly so well as we're just aggressively dashing through everyone. Now pair this together with Blood Boil. When your core skills overpower an enemy, you spawn 3 volatile blood drops, which then when you overpower creates this massive blood drops where you can just dash through. Every 20 seconds we'll get a free overpower, which is just simple perfection. Now there's an argument for playing Domination, which gives you a 24% increased damage against stunned, immobilized, or frozen targets, and you constantly just kind of stun people with your corpse tendrils. And if they're also injured and not an elite, they instantly die. That can be good. On the other hand, this doesn't work against bosses, so it's kind of like a little bit of painful. So you can, like, actually during a boss fight, think about just swapping this out. What I do want is Ravenous, and that is Lucky Hit up to a 20% chance to increase your attack speed by 40% of your total movement speed. And right now, that would be another 50% attack speed bonus. That's quite nice. Now we could think about playing Hemomancy, and I like Hemomancy. As you're just walking into a room, you do physical damage. Physical damage is all your blood skills essentially, and you're boosting physical damage quite nicely. And on top of that, it also heals you. It's never bad as we're sitting inside our opponents to destroy everyone. Alternative, you can take Anticipation just for another 20% cooldown reduction on your ultimate skills, or Terror, which gives you permanent critical strikes if an enemy is feared. That on bosses, as soon as they're staggered, makes every Bloodlands critical strike. And they are also overpowering, so you have guaranteed super overpower critical strikes madness. It's a nice little way, especially versus bosses, to boost your damage significantly. Now back to the topic of fighting bosses, because this build can actually kill Uber Lilith and every single boss extremely fast, despite zooming through a dungeon and being ultra tanky. And here's a trick to it. You're playing Bone Storm, yes, for the barrier and everything, and for the Lidless Wall. But technically, you also have a cool Blood Orb production that gives you essence back to just spam Bloodlands. What you do in boss fights is you take one single item that you favorite with spacebar, so you don't accidentally disenchant it with you, and that is multiple Blood Orb spawns. And what you do versus a boss is you swap out your Lidless Wall just for the boss fight. And then you go into your skill tree and remove the points in Bone Storm to put them into Blood Wave. That will give you triple Blood Wave with 9 Blood Orbs. Every Blood Orb consumed gives you 15 essence back. 1 lance costs 1 essence. And you get another 9 lances for free. 6 lances are needed for 1 overpower. You already have 110 essence for a bunch of lances anyways. So you're just getting so much more out to just spam away at the opponent. And you'll get 1 or 2 Blood Waves per boss fight easily to then just speed this up like crazy. And once you're done with the boss fight, the Lidless Wall goes back in and you're happy. Technically, you could also take a Godslayer crown with you that's favorited so you don't accidentally sell or disenchant it, and replace your helmet as well through this little monster to have another 40% multiplicative damage going on, which allows you in every boss fight to just go from a okay killing speed, because even without this you have a good killing speed, to an absolute mental insane killing speed. And yes, you will lose the 20% crit from the Bone Storm, but you can actually put critical strike chance on your focus with 7.5%, which kind of makes up for it at least a wee bit. You now put also all stats or dex on it. even better. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably the #1 build I've made so far that's able to just tackle any endgame challenge with so much ease. If you like this concept more with Blood Surge, there you go. If you want to see more gameplay of this build, here's the live stream where we tested everything and theory crafted it.